This journey begins 1 year ago, the first day of school in one American town. And for this new first grader, that nervous look back.
Everyone say salam alaikum. This is Hala.
Hi, Hala.
This is where Syria is. What happened to Syria?
Yeah.
Syria, there's some not so good things happening right now in Syria. America right now is a safe place for them to be.
But no one could have predicted what was about to happen in towns across America. And all of it comes after this, that haunting picture of a Syrian boy, his body washing up on the beach, the humanitarian crisis exploding. What to do with the Syrian refugees? Just weeks after that searing image last September, we were there when Hala's family arrived on that flight to America. A crash course on life in America. And then there's Hala, who is taking it all in.
Which one do you like, Hala?
And we were about to check in. How are they now doing on their own?
David, how are you? Can you give me 5?
Then down the short hallway to the bedrooms shared by the children.
May I see?
And Hala's older sister, Ala, already proud to show me her school notebook for geography.
Syria? Do you miss home?
Yeah, I miss home.
You miss home. And this is your room?
Yeah.
And where do you sleep?
And we noticed something.
Is that your school picture?
Yeah.
I like how you put your hand on your hip.
Her first sign of confidence back in Hala's class.
Say yellow. This one, yellow. Say yellow. Yellow. Red. Okay.
The disconnect is daunting. Hala lost in her new world. But her father still remembers when Hala was hurt in Syria, and there was no help to be found.
تنزف طول الليل بموت الواحد هو عم بيتفرج بعينه.
Do you feel safe in America?
Alhamdulillah.
But 45 days after they arrive in the U.S., this, the attacks in Paris. One of the attackers using a fake Syrian passport, posing as a refugee. The political pressure mounts. Suddenly, 32 governors announce they will halt Syrian refugees. And that Syrian family in Modesto is listening.
Listen, they could be ISIS. I don't know. If I win, they're going back. They're going back.
Protesters angry over President Obama's plan to accept 10,000 Syrian refugees. The other side of the street, we welcome refugees. The protesters asking, how can we be sure who we're letting in? And living in that same town, Asma El-Bukai, a Syrian refugee, a mother, whose husband was kidnapped in Syria, never to be seen again. She is now sensing danger here.
I start to see people acting differently. I really lock the doors, lock the windows, because somebody can attack us just because we are Muslim or because we are Syrian.
And then her son is attacked.
He asked if they are Muslim or not, and my son, he said, yes, I'm Muslim. Then the American guy, he punched him in his face. And he said, if I will see you in downtown, I will kill you.
Hate crimes against Muslims are now at their highest level since 9/11. When we come back, we travel to Amman, Jordan, the crush of Syrian families waiting to come to America. But who is vetting them?
What kind of documentation do they have, if any?
And back in Modesto, the community suddenly closing in.
Keep them out of our county.
And the tearful teacher defending them.
I do not think that hate and fear should redefine who we are as Americans.
From Boise to Burlington to Dallas, the protests, the anger growing in America. But the family of Syrian refugees we've been following never thought it would come to Modesto.
Refugee, everyone's...
We watch as the teachers here suddenly change their lesson plans.
Raise your hand if you are aware of the attacks that happened in Paris.
When you hear some of the rhetoric in this country, you smile.
I would welcome those individuals into my classroom.
Open invitation.
Open invitation.
She says, my classroom door is open at any time. Have you ever gone to one of those classes to see who these young people are?
No, I have not.
What would you say to the families that we've met, the refugees, who simply point out that they're fleeing ISIS too?
Okay, what I'm saying is we don't know who they truly are.
So where do we put them?
We need to put them in a place until we figure it out. I don't care if it's a camp, whatever.
And she points to what the FBI director, James Comey, has said himself about vetting refugees.
I describe it as a process that's gotten a lot better, but that we can't tell you is risk-free.
And so we travel the 7,400 miles from Modesto, California to Amman, Jordan, to see the vetting process for ourselves. Here in Jordan, across the Syrian border, there are more than 600,000 Syrian refugees, and despite the backlash back in the U.S., so many of them are still desperate for the chance to go to America. Through this doorway, we immediately discover a crush of humanity. Refugee families already screened by the UN, now waiting to be interviewed by the U.S.
How many interviews?
4 interviews. Actually 5.
5 interviews. So they come through here?
Yes.
Gina Qasim is with the U.S. State Department.
And they're brought into a security screening area.
For a vetting process that can last 2 years. We are taken to a hallway lined with small rooms, and through the windows, we can see family after family being interviewed.
How can you possibly learn everything about a family through an interview?
I'd say that the interviewers are very highly trained. They are trained to look both not at the documentation, but also for the credibility behind the applicant's story.
But when you say documentation, I mean, this is Syria. They've been at war for years now. What kind of documentation do they have, if any?
Surprisingly, 97% of all adult applicants in our pipeline have valid Syrian documentation.
From here, they are screened through the terrorist watch list, the intelligence databases back in the U.S., and Homeland Security makes the final decision.
Are there times when it will flag you to a particular family and they get pulled?
Absolutely. The applicants are actually at the airport, and we've had to prevent them from boarding the plane.
And tonight, the U.S. State Department says of the 840,000 refugees admitted to the U.S. since 9/11, a, quote, tiny fraction of 1% have been arrested or removed because of terrorism concerns. Critics say still too many. And inside this room, the Syrian families who've just been cleared for America. This is cultural orientation, where they're taught about their new home. The teacher asks them what's allowed in the U.S. and what's forbidden. These families leaving within days.
How many of you are excited to go to the United States? Give me one word that describes America to you.
The land of chances.
The land of chances. For Americans who are worried about refugees coming to the U.S.,
we are humans like you. We want to be one of you. ممكن تقبلونا بس.
And we wondered if they had any questions for us.
في حال فاز دونالد ترامب بالانتخابات شو بيضمن حقنا انه احنا نضل هنيك ما بصير رجعنا او يأذينا هنيك.
We'll take that question with us back to the United States.
And we journey across Amman to find one more family. We're about to witness the moment they get their answer. Their home bombed in Syria. They show me their homemade swing in the hallway. The children miss their playground back home.
This is your playground.
Yes.
The U.S. State Department then tells them they're next. We show them on a map.
Kansas City is a beautiful city. It's a beautiful city. And the baseball team, they won the World Series.
A smile from the son who loves sports.
David Muir joins us now. Love that line, the land of chances. You had a chance to talk to one of the refugees who had a question for Donald Trump that you brought back to the States.
Yeah, we said we would, and we interviewed Trump in recent days, and we asked him about Syrian refugees. He said, done, no more, done. Those were his words, Byron. And he went on to say, we have no idea if they're ISIS related. We should point out that Hillary Clinton says that she has long been an advocate for stronger vetting, and her campaign says she continues to support the notion that we should be accepting Syrian refugees.
And tell us about little Hala.
Hala, I know the little one. I remember at the beginning, she couldn't even say yellow in that class. It was so daunting for those teachers. You've got to see how this ends.
All right.
The question at the end of every school year, who will win the Spartan Award?
Next is Miss Ala Al-Jabara. She was nominated by Miss Lindsay Bird. Miss Bird had this to say: she has poured her heart and soul into mastering English. She is a true role model for all students. Congratulations.
One very proud mom.
Did you think at the beginning of this school year you would end the year with the medal?
No. When I came to her, I didn't know anything in English.
And look at you now.
I speak English.
Yellow. Say yellow.
And then there's Hala,
Yellow.
who seemed so lost in that classroom when we first met her a year ago. Just listen to her English now. The Pledge of Allegiance with perfection. And despite the fierce debate that continues to rage on tonight, Hala and the song she learned to celebrate her new home.
This land was made for you and me.
Our thanks to David and his team.